Hi, my name is Alessandro Cangelosi and that's a video tutorial coming from cgcookie.com for MaxCookie. This time we continue to talk about the Pyrocluster usage to create a Meteor, and we have to finish the setup for the illumination, the smoke, and we have to play a little bit with the rendering and with the speed up to have a final compositing today. So, this was our setup. And that's we have to adjust a little bit there the camera, so let's do it now because it is better to have it fixed. So we have to select the camera and we have to check the animation, and that's the problem there, you see. So okay, the problem is there. So let's try to see what happens if we remove this key. We are following in this way. Okay. The problem is that I like to see how it looks later, for example there, to see if the smoke is okay or not. And the first thing we have to do is to make a preview for this area, so we can expand there. Let's make a test. We have also to speed up the rendering, because actually it is really slow. Okay, the look for this part of the smoke seems okay, and we have a good quality to see how it looks. One thing is that I rendered it in 1 minute and near 40 seconds, and that's really high. We need to speed up the rendering, and we can do it going inside Pyrocluster. So we see also how to play with the Pyrocluster parameters. And first of all, we can play with a rendering initial setup step. You see that there we have a sampling quality, and actually we are talking about 1 centimeters. So we can, for example, change and going to 10 centimeters because we are talking about a really big smoke. And let's see how it changes in quality, and how, obviously if you have to go near the smoke, it is better to have an initial step really low because you need a lot of detail. But let's see in this case if it is going okay or not. Let's wait. It is rendering the shadow maps, and obviously we have to do the same thing also on the shadows, because the shadows are really slow to be calculated. So let's wait and see to speed up also the other things. Then after the speed up process, we have to work a little bit, not just on the smoke area there, maybe at the end of the smoke trail and at the beginning of the smoke trail, because I like to work a little bit on the look in rendering, and then trying to figure out to obtain a really good quality there and finalize it in compositing. But there we need the right quality to play in comp. Let's wait. Okay, so actually we have 1 minute and 17 seconds, and that's something really similar to this one. Maybe we have a little bit less detail, you can see there, but it is a really fast moving smoke, so it is not so important. But it is not so much because we have just 20 seconds less than before. So let's go inside the shadows, and you see that there we have the initial steps set to 2 centimeters. Let's try to go to 20 centimeters and re-render again, and you see that this time the shadow maps is really fast to be calculated, and we have an amazing 8 seconds. So this way gives us the possibility to go back there inside the rendering and trying to figure to have an initial step set to 0.05, so 5 centimeters. So we have more detail. You see that we have obviously a little bit less speed, but we'll have for sure more detail, something in between the really fast one and this one. And you see that now we have 10 seconds. Obviously, we can go back to 1 centimeters, and we can see how much it will be slower. We'll have 5 times more detail. Let's wait. You see that we have for sure a slower rendering, and we have 33 seconds, so we are talking about 3 times slower. So let's think about maybe something in between, like 0.03 for the final rendering, but for the testing we can go for 0.05. So this was the first step to have a speed up in the rendering. Now I like to check the look on various parts of the animation. So let's see, for example, there at the beginning. Let's remove, okay, and render, and that's what we see there. We have to play a little bit there. Because for sure I think that the quality is not so high, and you see it. So we need, first of all, more particles. It is still, we have still necessity to have a better rendering. I'd like to see, for example, what we can have there if I use the glow there. So let's start playing a little bit with the particle system to have more particles at the beginning. Let's say that we have, let's see how much particles we are using. Okay, let's say we have 2 times particles. Okay. And let's try to have also a little bit of speed up. We have just a random speed. See, without random speed. Okay, let's try to have a speed in this way, but also a wind. In this way. Okay, back in the particles. And we can add another force there by list, and we'll use the wind and select. Okay, I'd like just for a moment to have no visualization for the Pyrocluster. So let's go inside the viewport and I say just particles. Okay, so first of all we should need to start the animation later, so we have more detail. And let's go to the wind. Okay, it works. And then let's play a little bit with the speed. But let's say that the speed is after a while, so we have the force there, and then when the okay, let's play a little bit with this kind of effects. We have the speed later when the particles. Okay, so just a little bit later, so let's say maybe 5 frames. So you see we have just speed up at the beginning. Let's try with 5000, so we have a really high force at the beginning. Okay, then we have the random there, let's say 25, 15. It seems a little bit better. Then we need the delete there, so let's move it there, and now it is set to on, so the particles will die after a while. Okay, let's see. Obviously now we have to play a little bit with the parameters there. And also with the scale, because we have to scale the particles later. So let's go there and inside Pyrocluster. Let's work on the color. So we need for sure this one set to 0.5. Okay, and the other stuffs can remain the same way. We should have white particles just there, but it is still too much present, so we can remove the white color and we'll use another yellow color and then the red. So all the colors are near more than before. So the yellow is really big, obviously, because, so let's remove the second one. And render. We should have a little bit less yellow. It's not so simple because we are using it. So let's try to have just more red for more time. Okay, let's check the scaling and also the luminosity. So this one, let's remove let's see how it looks. So we have self-illumination just on the first part. Okay, then let's go to the sphere radius. We should have basically a corner, so we have less scaling. You see, it is slower, the scaling. Now I like to remove the rotation due to the speed. So let's go there. Let's set to visible, and that's the scaling I have to remove. Let's remove there, because the speed is also in the other direction. Okay, we are back to have smoke effects. And we need, you see, bigger particles at the beginning. So back inside the environment, this one is not the right one, this one is not the right one. Okay, there, the sphere radius at the beginning, let's go for 500, and let's see how it looks. And we can have a little bit less wind speed there. Let's try with 2500. Maybe still less, 1000. Obviously I'm changing something that I've done before, but it's just because I need to check how it looks in rendering. Okay, obviously if you can, it will be better to have the asteroid moving before the camera starts. And another thing, we have to try to scale the look there. So I mean, let's go inside the noise sides. At the beginning actually we have 500 and 2000. Okay, let's try with a really lower amount of detail. And I see more stuffs there. Okay. And about the lighting too, again, let's say that we have self-illumination by 75% there, and this one will be 0, but there will be 0.03. So really faster we lose the self-illumination, you see. Okay, and I like to have a different color, but it's just a test. Let's save. Okay, there, let's copy and paste. We have the particle age effects there, and we try to have the same. Okay, so let's save this one, and I save it there in a folder, and let's call it gradient there. we load the gradient, and you see we have it. And let's say that there we have a different coloring. So let's say, for example, red, and then there we have the yellow, and then there the red, and that's all. And maybe we can try to have a little bit of dark brown there, just to have some different coloring over it. And let's see what happened. You see that we have some changes in the coloring. Let's see if we try to use the distance instead the density. We see not so much differences. So let's go back to the density, and I like to have particles moving in a different way. So let's say that we have a different shader. That's the Meteor, and let's see, we have this one, and I like to have over it, let's say, a composite keep-all map, and the second one will be a noise, and we'll have darker red and an orange, let's say with a fractal, something like that. Let's see the first one, the scaling. Okay, and the second one will have maybe let's say another noise, discard, and we'll have maybe a 35 turbulence. And I'm just playing with the parameter, let's say 6 there, and there copy, and let's put in the self-illumination as an instance, but we need a little bit less. So let's say clear, paste as a copy, and we say something like that, and black there, and the output will be lower. Let's see what we have inside the rendering. We should have something there over the rock, just to have it something. Okay, we can change the scale, let's say maybe 85. Sorry, let's render just this area. Okay, let's say that also there we have 85. We can do something bigger, so let's say 200. And 200 there too. Okay, you see we have something like that, and it will be enough to have just a strange look there. Okay, obviously to have a really good quality, we should add more details as the breeze, some Krakatoa layers, and some film effects layers. but it is just to see how to play with Pyrocluster to have something like that. So other thing, it will be useful to have the trail before we start there, and to have it we need to play a little bit with a line. So let's go in the front view. That's our line, and we should change the line, and I mean we have to refine it. So let's go there and let's say refine, and we can select this vertex and have it something like that. So you see we have the particles starting there and going inside, but the important thing is to say that the asteroid will start to play with the path before. You see that actually we have the 0 at 0 frame. Let's say that this key is at -25, -50, so you see we have smoke inside the viewport before. We have to adjust a little bit the camera animation. So let's go back and let's select the target. Let's go key by key. There it is right, and there it is not right. So let's go for the auto key. Okay, this can be not bad. And let's save and close. I like to see how it looks from this point of view. There it is a little bit strange, but it is due to the particle settings we done. We have to check another thing, and that's the scaling there of the particles, and I think we need bigger particles at the end. So let's go in the Pyrocluster again. Let's check the scaling there. And let's say that at the end we have 6,000. So you see there are bigger, maybe 8,000. Let's render again. We should have a better scale there. Maybe we can speed up a little bit more the shadows there, but now the look there is okay. And we have just to check there. So let's start again to see how it looks at different frames. like also to see the density falling. Obviously, you can imagine that you should have a better camera position, because there I have still too much smoke at the beginning. Let's go inside the density. I like to see something. So let's see how we are playing with the density there. And the detail, we have still the same detail. Maybe we can have more detail at the end, but for the moment we see that there we have 1 for the density, and then we have a lower density there. Let's try to see what happens if we speed up this process. Let's render the same. I made a copy. Okay, you see that we have a little bit less density there. Like to see if there is something more I can do. Let's see what happened from this point of view. We have to speed up the shadows. Maybe just a little bit, but we have to do it. Okay, you see, that's what we have in this part, and we have still not so good amount of particles. So actually I think also that we are using just some particles and not all the particles. Let's go at the beginning to check, and before I like to go there, and let's say that there we have 0.3, so it will be faster. And I think we have to play a little bit there with the scaling, so we can have the radius there. We have 500. Let's try with 7500. Maybe it will be not more visible, but sometimes between the volumes we can see the rock. And we are seeing better also the scaling there for the noise. Okay, I think we have to play more. I like to scale a little bit the detail at the beginning. We are there, so let's reopen. We have 2000 there, and let's say 400, because we had not so much detail before, but now we have too much detail. Okay, see, it's a little bit better. I like to see again the color. Let's see, to have a little bit of, let's say, maybe an high value, just to see how it looks. It's not so useful actually. I prefer to play a little bit with the coloring, and there we have too much. Let's go at 1, sorry, 2. Okay, so it's really near to the second one. Okay, let's check the second one there, and let's go for a more darker red. Okay, you see that now we have the right strange coloring there, and this one is not so good. So let's go for an orange. To find the best coloring there. We still this color. Let's see in this way. Okay, we're back at the yellow we had before, and I like to see something there. You see that we have actually all the same orientation for the fractal. Let's use a face, because you see that actually we have no animation, and we have the face linked to the particle age. And let's start trying with 2. So you see, maybe it's too much. We have to make some tests. This one, let's try with 1. Or we can play also with a drift. And the drift, let's have a low value there too. Okay, let's go in the drift, and let's try to have a really high value. Okay, it seems not so much green, so I think it can be enough. Let's go in the rendering view, and let's continue to check how it looks. We can still speed up a little bit the shadows because it is too much slow. So let's go again inside the rendering, and let's see to have 0.5. Maybe the quality will be not so high, but the speed will be really better. Okay, that's what we see there. Like to see at the end if we have too much black smoke, so I can change a little bit there. We have a good smoke there. And there we have a little bit of low quality due to the parameters we are using, but I think we can use it because we left there the glow and other things, so I think it will be not a big problem. Okay, let's stop and save. Let's deactivate Pyrocluster for a moment, and let's see the sky. It was just to see how it looks without the dust, smoke for the asteroid. Okay, so I think that we have a lot of good information there to have our first render. So I'd like just to see if the animation is right or not. So let's go there at full screen. I don't like so much there at the beginning, so I'd like to play a little bit again with the animation. Let's say to remove this one. So auto key. Let's say that we are checking higher, and this one will be linear. Let's remove this key for the moment, and also there we have to play a little bit. Let's see that we have this one in the middle. Okay, now it's more linear. Okay, it seems a little bit better. Let's select the camera, and everything there seems fine. Okay, close and save. Now I'd like to see how it looks. So let's pick, for example, this frame, and we make a test rendering. Let's play with 600 to have a faster render. Okay, obviously we have no illumination there. We have to set to visible to active Pyrocluster, and let's see if we can export some information. We have the zeta buffer. Let's export maybe just there, and I like to see. I think we can use this one without the need to render something later about the other render path. So let's call it 3ds Max particles Meteor with Pyrocluster part 2. test.tif, and we save it 16 bits and with the alpha channel and pack bits. Okay, now we need combustion. I have to scale the user interface there, so we'll have the right resolution. And now I can relaunch it. Let's open the frame. I'm doing in the other window because there is no space. So I'm going in the right folder. And then creating a 2D composite. Let's use all the channel we have. Okay, what we can do there, first of all, let's have a flare, and we'll use it there to illuminate the scene. We can try to change the color to have something different. Obviously you have to manually animate this one, but we can use also the tracking, and there we can have the secondary in this way. Actually I'll play just with the sorry, I'm changing the color, with a basic setup, and then you can play with all the other stuffs. In stylites we can use also the glow, just to have a little bit. Let's say that we like to have another luminance to peak just there. And let's play a little bit with a color correction. Trying to find a good look for the image. Something like that, and let's go to play a little bit with the brightness and contrast too. I like just to see something. Okay, so we can remove there the lens flare, the discrete color. Best of all, just the discrete color there. Let's remove the pre-multiply, so we can have a different coloring, brightness and contrast between the two stuffs there. So you see we have the sky on a separate path, and in this way there we can have another layer of glue, so we can have both as nesting. Let's call it Meteor, and there we say 16 bits, and we can have again a lens flare. Before I like to add a little bit more glue. Okay, and again we can have the lens flare there, not just so big, something like that, and we have to move it there, and then we can add a little bit of grain. We don't need to play too much with the grain, it's just to have it inside the scene, so you can leave some parameters really simple. And I like to make a selection, so selection, elliptical selection, and we'll try to simulate the vignetting more visible. So there, brightness and contrast, sorry, and let's go there, and this selection must be inverted, and it must be bigger, do something like that, and we play a little bit with this one. Let's remove the selection so we can see it better. Remove selection, and we can have a little bit less. Okay. Just a little bit. Okay, and you see that we have our Meteor rendered. Now I can save the workspace in the Dropbox in the right folder, so you can play a little bit with it. And there I call it 3ds Max Particles Meteor with Pyrocluster part 2. Obviously it's possible that if you render the entire sequence you have to play a little bit with the noise animation we done using the drift and the other parameters, because maybe the movement will be not so good, so you have to play a little bit and trying to figure to obtain the best quality. So for the moment that's all, and I hope to see you back on Max Cookie to check for new tutorial coming from cjcookie.com.